A couple of years ago I reviewed this 3D game box, also called the GoldenSky G6. This is basically where all the mumbo jumbo started when it comes to the game boxes. So basically this thing was more like a Pandora's box they slapped into a new form factor. With the option to play up to PlayStation Portable, this thing was quite innovative and quite interesting in my opinion. But don't get me wrong, this thing was far from perfect. There was so many freaking issues with it, and I even read in the comments some people bought it and it died off after let's say a couple of months, even sometimes in a couple of years. Okay, so my version still works. It's like a freaking miracle. Also, I was quite surprised to see that this thing actually dies off. It comes in a very nice metal housing. It has like an internal fan, but maybe it was not good enough and it had some other issues under the hood that we didn't know about. The 3D game box was just an interesting project, and also when it comes to this horrible controller, yeah, it was not a great thing to have when you're looking at some performance. And I mean with some, like you did have like a great performance when it comes to some platforms. Think about the two-dimensional stuff that you can run on a freaking tomato nowadays. So when you're looking at the connection, there was nothing very fancy over here. The same stuff that we've seen before, including the Pandora's boxes. We have a TF card here, I love to call it, just a micro SD card. This thing came with a 32GB, and the main problem I had with this, it was not like, hey, you're going to remove games or add games. It was absolutely like a freaking nightmare. They basically locked the full system. We have two USB ports for the controllers and an HDMI out and input for a power supply. Another thing is like we do have the option for entering the game market, more like game market, the naughty store I love to call it. But the store is not working anymore, or it didn't really work for me anyway. But you can even add an extra antenna for having a better Wi-Fi connection. But let's do a quick recap and let's take a close look at this, but how good or how bad was it? I want to point out that the 3D game box GoldenSky is basically similar like a lot of Pandora's boxes, like the Pandora Games 3D, the Plus Edition, and yes people, also the 18S, only squeezed in a tiny box. What I think is pretty cool about the 3D game box and all these Pandora's boxes, that we have a lot of capabilities when it comes to emulation. And I'm not talking about only the really basic stuff like 8-bit and 60-bit. We're having also PC Engine, Sega Dreamcast, PSP, MAME, Neo Geo. It's just crazy what you can do with the box, and including the Pandora tool we can even add more games, and sometimes maybe in the future we can even add more programs to it, because we can also hack this device and make it more like an Android box. I have this thing with more capabilities than it comes out of the box from the manufacturer. But the menu, I do like it. We even have a recent list, a search list, all those things that we can find with the Pandora Game 3D nowadays. With your normal Pandora box or another game system, we can also do this with a 3D game box GoldenSky. And this thing has been on the market for quite a long time. The biggest downside this device has, it doesn't have not a lot of great support when it comes to different controllers. We can go to the IO testing, we have in gamepad settings where we can reconfigure everything, even up to 4-player, but you need an USB hub for it, because we're only having 2 connections at the back. But it doesn't even matter, because if you're hooking up an Xbox 360 controller, most of the common controllers, it will not be recognized by the system. So earlier on I already mentioned more like a naughty store. Yes, there is a store in the system itself, like a lot of these Pandora boxes, but don't be excited, because I have always had a mixed feeling with these things. Maybe you can see games, or they say there are games, but I have seen so many problems that you can't download games, that let's say the system you're using are not configured or not activated. A lot of problems. So the naughty store, in my opinion, just forget this. Okay, so let's start about the games itself. How are they running on this system? So to begin with, we need to play with a shitty controller, so the experience will not be super positive. But okay, so we already spoken of the games, what is supported. So 8-bit, 16-bit, PC Engine, let's say 32-bit, and also 64 and PSP is supported by this. But all of these things are a mixed bag, and I will tell you why. Okay, so let's get into the lower end stuff, and in the end we're going to work up to PSP and Sega Dreamcast, and I will show you what I mean with the mixed bag. But you can see that these games, 8-bit, 16-bit and the 32-bit stuff will run just fine on the 3D game box. So let's check out the arcade part. When it comes to the N64 stuff, they were using a really old emulator and a combination with this Android box that is not powerful enough. Sadly, we're not going to get a very good result. Some basic games like Diddy Kong Racing will work and has some decent frame rate so you can enjoy the game, but in the end it is not the experience that you want to have with N64, so it's a big pass. But next up we're having PlayStation 1, and this system runs pretty good on the Gamebox 3D. That's quite interesting. Alright, so next up we're having PPSSPP with the PSP emulation. And Tekken 6 is a game that runs pretty decent on this box, but I'm thinking they will use this with a frame skip, because most of these boxes that are basically the same like this will not run it on the full speed. And PSP is just a mixed bag. Why am player 2? Messed up.
I'm not afraid anymore. Battle 1. Fight.
And like every single Pandora's box, if you want to play Sega Dreamcast, they are running on the Dreamcast in combination with the Mali GPU that is inside. It will have some minor glitching and the speed will not be on 60 FPS all the freaking time. So fun fact, when you're looking at this Gamebox 3D and you're looking at all the other Pandora box devices I've reviewed here over the years, you can see there are a lot of similarities. And not in a good way, because the emulation didn't improve a lot. But yeah, the Gamebox in 2022, I don't even know if you can even pick it up. It's absolutely like outdated in many different ways. I personally really love the Pandora Game 3D layout. It's just very convenient to navigate and yeah, choose your selective games. But the main problem I'm having with this bloody thing is like it had so many issues. And yeah, if it's going to be dying off, it's absolutely garbage in the end. Let me know what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.